Hey, and welcome back to another video. So in this video, we'll be reviewing a very special phone, because if you pause this video and go on YouTube, open another tab and go on YouTube and search for Motorola XT889, you will never find a proper review of this. There's a bunch of tech specs videos and just some nonsense, but there's no proper review of this because this phone is extremely rare. And icing on the cake with the cherry on top, this one's a prototype of an extremely rare phone. As you can see here, Motorola Mobility Restricted Property, Confidential, Not for Sale. So yeah, we are reviewing an ultra rare phone here. The standard released model of this phone is extremely hard to find. You'll never find it on eBay. You'll never find it anywhere. There's probably a review on some Chinese website like Bilibili or something, but you'll never find this on any major website. And this is a prototype of an already rare phone. So yeah, this is going to be a very special video. And this is the Motorola RAZR V XT889. So this is a RAZR series phone, Motorola RAZR V XT889, a extremely rare phone. I've done a lot of prototype videos on Motorola phones in recent times and Nokia phones and stuff. There's a playlist of videos called the Prototype playlist, which you can find down in the description below. It's just full of untested, unreleased prototype phones, testing samples, developer devices, and stuff that was not usually supposed to be seen by the public that I got my hands on. And I think I'm the only YouTuber that's currently active that's covering prototype devices. So if you like to see stuff like that, go ahead and check out the Prototype playlist down in the description below. There's a Nokia N8 prototype, and there's a bunch of upcoming devices as well. And I've done this video as well, a Motorola lot of prototype phones, a really interesting video. And I bought this phone for $78-ish, as you can see here, from the same seller that was that sold me that Motorola prototype lot on OfferUp. So he had a lot of Motorola prototype phones with him, and I bought all of his phones, I guess. But yeah, let's go into this video and have a closer look at the Motorola RAZR V XT889 prototype and give this phone a review that it never had, because like I said, you won't find this on YouTube. But as usual, before jumping right in, don't forget to leave a big thumbs up on that like button down below to show your support for this video and this channel in general, and help this video get on YouTube's algorithm even faster. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and ring that bell notification button to get notified whenever I upload a new video. I'm on Instagram, Discord, and Twitter, and you can follow me on those using the links down in the description below. And now let's jump right into this video, starting with some history. So to start things off, I'm going to start off with a bit of warning here, because I want to say that a lot of information in this video might be really wrong, because everything I'm basing off this on is just basic paragraphs and tech specs that I can find online. There's no proper review of this thing to begin with, so I don't have a basis to work from, and everything that I'm going to tell you is from my research over the course of a week. I actually had to research this phone for a week, and I still didn't come up with much in my hand, because this phone is so rare, let alone the prototype. This may have a lot of differences from the final model, but I can't tell you the differences because I don't have access to the final model. For example, in this video, the Nokia N8 prototype video, I had a standard N8 to compare it to the prototype and show you the differences, but I don't have access to the standard model. So I'm just getting that out of the way, so you know that some of the stuff in this video may be wrong. But yeah, the final model of this phone was released in June of 2012. It was announced in June of 2012 and released in June of 2012 as a mid-range phone on the China Wireless network. As you can see here, the China Wireless logo. It was a mid-range phone, and as you see here, it came bloated with a lot of bloatware, a lot of Chinese apps that I've never seen before. VNet, 189, email, eNavi, ECP. I don't know what these things are, but they're just preloaded onto this phone. And if you thought that American phones like Verizon phones come with a lot of bloat, you got to get a load of this thing. This thing is loaded with bloatware, and you can't delete most of these. And I kind of don't want to delete these because these apps may not even exist in the public eye. Some of these may be just testing apps, who knows? So I'm just going to leave them on here. This phone has two launchers, the standard Android ICS launcher, the ice cream sandwich launcher, which I have up now. and this e-launcher prototype launcher like thing, which completely slows the phone down. As you see, it completely slowed it down. It crashes, it lags, and sometimes I have to reset it. It's just a horrible launcher to begin with. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put back that launcher. The launcher is just really horrible. It is a prototype launcher, but as you saw, it crashed and it went back to the Android launcher, as you saw the standard Android launcher. It switches randomly as well, but yeah, I do not want to use the e-launcher. But yeah, now the history of this specific phone, I bought it from OfferUp for about the price I showed you earlier, $78 ish, and the same seller sold me a lot of other Motorola prototypes as well, which I bought for a decent price. One of those phones, which is in an upcoming video, let me give you a quick peek at an upcoming video, is this phone, the Motorola RAZR Z12. The Motorola RAZR Z12 is a phone that was never released to the public. Though this thing is rare, it was at least released to the public. That thing was never released, it was cancelled. And here's another sneak peek at another prototype video that's upcoming. I'm not gonna tell you what this is, but it's another prototype that was never released. So definitely hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for those videos. So I do a lot of prototype stuff. Anyway, bought this thing from OfferUp, and yeah, when I saw this, I knew I definitely had to get this phone because it's already a rare phone. Icing on the cake with a cherry on top, this thing is a prototype. So I went ahead and bought this, and yeah, so I have it in hand here, and that's just all the history I can give you because there's barely any information online about the follow-up to this phone. I couldn't find, I actually changed my search settings and used Google Lens to go into Chinese websites and try to find information on this. There was a bit of information, but it wasn't that much different from the stuff in English. So yeah, very, very vague there. But anyway, let us now jump into the technical specifications and technical details of the Motorola RAZR V XT889 prototype, starting off with the build quality and design. So first, let's power this thing on because I already powered it off. You got to see the loading screen. So Motorola dual core technology. This kind of reminds me of the Motorola Atrix, but this thing does not have an NVIDIA processor. From what I can tell, this thing has a Texas Instruments processor, which we'll talk about a bit later. And if you read Chinese, there'll be animation in a bit. Tell me what it says. I can tell it's probably on the lines of Telecom 3G something. So China Telecom there. What is this and what is this? I think it's 3 fast. This may be fast. I don't know. I can't read Chinese. Let me know down in the comment section if you can read Chinese. Anyway, let's have a quick go around of this phone. So Motorola logo up here. We have a small window like thing there for the proximity sensor and the light sensor. The camera is over here, and there's a barcode like, well, not a barcode, a QR code with some numbers there, some more prototype stuff that's not on the final model from what I can tell. The ear speaker is hidden under this large speaker grill, as you can see there. It's probably that small, but it's under there somewhere. Motorola Mobility restricted property, confidential, not for sale. Or is it Motorola Mobility, confidential, restricted property, not for sale? Or is it, I don't know, it's kind of like that meme where the lady's pointing at the cat and they're trying to figure out a bunch of words which is written in disorderly, written in a disorderly fashion, like, you know, it's like this, no, it's like that. You've seen the meme. So is it Motorola Mobility, confidential, restricted property, not for sale? Motorola Mobility, restricted property, confidential, not for sale? Or I don't know. Go ahead and make a meme out of that. I don't know. But you won't find that on the final model, obviously. This China Wireless logo, you will find it though. The microphone is probably hidden down here somewhere. I cannot find it. It's definitely in this grill-like thing, but it is definitely there. Volume rockers on this side, they feel pretty decent. At the bottom we have nothing, and at this side we have the SIM card, the SIM slot plus the micro SD expansion slot behind a flap-like thing. Moving up, we have the micro USB port behind this flap-like thing, and we have a 3.5mm headphone jack plus the power/lock button there. At the back, we have a sticker over the sort of Kevlar-like design you found on a lot of Motorola phones back in the day. I'm not going to take it off, but this does have that Kevlar-like design. Bunch of FCC markings and stuff. So this phone was definitely already certified to be launched at the time of this prototype when it was created, because these markings are here. There's a bunch of stickers underneath these stickers. I pasted these stickers on there because there's the serial number, there's some Wi-Fi addresses and stuff. So I definitely covered those up with a bunch of stickers. It says Nokia 6.1 because this was from my Nokia 6.1 box. It came with a sticker. But yeah, those are covered up. Obviously you can take this whole thing off and you're gonna see that Kevlar pattern like thing, but I'm not gonna. Motorola logo up here, single mono speaker over here, single LED flash with the 8 megapixel camera. It says HD 8 megapixel 1080p, and we'll talk about the camera in a bit. Overall, a pretty decently built phone. I mean, it does feel plasticky, as you can hear this kind of plasticky, but it does creak a bit, but it's not too bad. It's a decently built phone from 2012, sorry, and it feels decent in the hand. It kind of looks really nice though. It has that, I like these Motorola designs, these older designs. If you've been on my channel for a long time, you'll know I love these designs. It's kind of got that Batman-ish kind of design. I really like these designs, especially the Droid X. But yeah, that was the design and build quality. A pretty decently built phone, looks really nice. A pretty decent device from 2012. Now let's jump into the display. Now the display on this thing is a bit of a dilemma because a lot of the tech specs that I found online say this thing is an IPS LCD display, but from what I can tell on the color saturation on a bunch of images and stuff, let's pull up a wallpaper here. From what I can tell with the color saturation and stuff, I'm more leaning towards this being a TFT LCD display, because as you can see, a lot of the colors are overly and artificially saturated. They're not, well, I wouldn't say overly, but somewhat saturated, and they're definitely not natural. They're more artificial, and that happens. I've said this earlier on my other videos. TFT LCD displays, most TFT LCD displays have only 256,000 colors. They don't get the full 16 million color complement. The Nokia N95, though having a TFT, is a bit of an outlier because the N95 does have the full 16 million colors. But from my experience, what I can tell, this is a TFT LCD display, not an IPS LCD display like the spec sheets say, because the colors are overly saturated, and that's how they deal with the lack of colors. That's how TFT LCDs deal with the lack of the full 16 million colors, is by oversaturating some of the, well, I keep using the word over, but slightly saturating some of the existing colors to compensate for the lack in a lot of colors. So this definitely, I can say with some amount of certainty, has 256,000 colors, and it's a TFT LCD. But however, since this thing is a prototype, the final model could have very well had an IPS LCD display and was better than this. This is the prototype. So maybe the final model had an IPS LCD, and those websites are correct. However, I'm also correct in saying this is a TFT LCD because this is a prototype. It may as well had a TFT LCD instead of the final IPS LCD, but we'll never know because I don't have a final model to compare it with. So yeah, now let's jump into the tech specs on this display. So could be IPS, could be TFT, we'll never know. The size of this display is a 4.3 inch display. I measured that and confirmed this, so 4.3 inches diagonally like that, 540 by 960 pixels, so 540 by 960 pixels with a 16 by 9 aspect ratio and a pixel density of around 256 pixels per inch. The outdoor performance of this display is actually really good. It's really bright. This is actually medium, and the colors, like I said, are towards the saturated side, but they're doable. They do a perfect job even here in 2021. I'm not too judgy about displays, but there may be people who are. So how this display goes in some people's minds may vary. However, it's a pretty decent display for what it is, even in 2012. Like I said, the colors are a bit saturated. It's really bright. The outdoor performance is great. The size is a pretty decent size for the time, and it's overall a very usable display for a budget phone like this. And this phone was probably in the $200 range. And you may ask, why don't I download like a application that tells you the specs of the phone to get everything in detail? I'm not gonna install I'm not gonna log in to my Google accounts, even my dummy accounts, on a phone with a lot of shady looking apps like this. So yeah, that's definitely not gonna happen. I'm not logging into any of my Google accounts. This thing doesn't even have a proper Play Store. There's this thing called High Market. Where is that? Well, it says eStore there. That's not the Google Play Store. There's this thing called High Market, or does that only appear? No, there it is, Hi Market. I think that could be the Play Store, but there's no proper Play Store on this thing, or did I miss it? I don't know. This phone is really different. I'm not gonna put that e-launcher thing. It just completely lags the phone and crashes it, so that's out of the question. But we're using the standard ice cream sandwich launcher here. But yeah, I'm definitely not logging into my account to download an application onto this thing. So I'll go off what I found online and what my research tells me. Anyway, a pretty decent display for 2021 if you're okay with using it. And it was perfectly fine for 2012. Looking under the hood of this thing, and I want to warn you again, some of this information may be wrong. I cannot confirm with 100% certainty. The processor on this thing is a Texas Instruments OMAP 4430. So Texas Instruments processor OMAP 4430, which is a dual-core processor clocked in at 1.2 gigahertz. So a pretty decent processor for the time. It was after the LG Optimus 2X, so it was a dual-core phone. Texas Instruments OMAP 4430, dual core, 1.2 gigahertz. This thing has a PowerVR SGX 540 as its GPU. So PowerVR SGX 540 as its GPU. It has a micro SD card expansion slot like I showed you earlier, which is probably up to around 32 or 64 gigs. I cannot confirm. It has 4 gigs of internal memory and 1 gig of RAM as well. So pretty decent specs for 2012. It will run the ice cream sandwich operating system very well. As you can see there, it's very fluid, it's very fast, it runs excellently. However, if you load the e-launcher there, it completely goes into the drain, it lags, it crashes and stuff. It's really horrible, but for what it is, as you can see, it's really fast, it's really snappy, it runs really well. And now let's move on to the software section of this video. So as you can see, this thing is running Android 4.0.3 ice cream sandwich. Now the final model was released with Android 4.0.4 ice cream sandwich. Now, the difference between there is probably when this prototype was being tested, Google had still not released 4.0.4. So this thing was really was made with 4.0.3, and finally, when the final model was supposed to be launched, 4.0.4 was already out. And this thing, the final model was released with 4.0.4. However, this thing is stuck on ice cream sandwich. There's no update beyond that. I connected this thing to Wi-Fi and checked that out, but again, that could also be faulty. Who knows? Developer options is pretty standard. There's nothing much in the way of unusual developer options. There may be a way to plug this with a computer and run Motorola's testing suite, a prototype testing suite, but I don't have access to that, so whatever. We have your standard stuff that you get in the developer options: forced GPU rendering, pointer location, show touches, CPU usage, etc., etc. Let's turn those off so no one gets a seizure. But as you can see, this is your standard interface for Android ice cream sandwich, a standard ice cream sandwich interface, albeit with a lot of bloatware. I'm not going to delete any of this bloatware because it may be just rare software that has never been released. I've never seen these. I cannot really tell. So I'm not going to delete them. I'm going to leave them as is. And I'm definitely, well, I kind of want, let's just do it. The e-launcher, as you see, it just slowed down really badly there. Yeah, that e-launcher is not ideal. Kind of want to put it back now. Let me go ahead and do that off camera and be right back. But as you can see, e-launcher is not, oh, there, it crashed. Well, there you go. It did it for me. It crashed. But yeah, e-launcher is definitely not standard, but it's also a prototype launcher of some sort. I couldn't find much information on it online, but either way, this is your standard ICS interface, as you can see there, apart from the bloat apps. And this is the lock screen, which has this nice wheel-like thing that you can customize. So camera, phone, unlock, or messaging. Let me do that again. Camera, phone, unlock, or messaging. Let's unlock. And there's no Moto skin on this. This is the standard launcher. So this probably didn't ship with the Moto skin. Instead, it's shipped with that crappy e-launcher. But if you want, you can get rid of that and just run the standard ICS launcher, as you can see there. But definitely prototype software here. And it's pretty nice to see that people were testing these things before launch with a bunch of bloat apps. I mean, these apps would have had to be released eventually, so I'm pretty sure they did a combo launch with the apps also being tested. And exactly, but I don't think the Motorola engineer tested these applications, but a couple of these prototypes would have been sent around for testing to different manufacturers and stuff, because I'm assuming the hardware was final, so everything else was just software testing and stuff like like that. But it's really, really nice to see a prototype software that is still in development and was just left as is in a prototype stage, and the final model was launched with the final software. Either way, that was just a software overview of what's on the Prototype XT889 in terms of software. And now let's go over to the camera section. So we are now here at the back of the phone with the camera, and as you can see here, it says HD 8 megapixel 1080p, and that's true. This is a 8 megapixel autofocus camera that can record video at 1080p 30 fps. It also has a single beefy LED flash with the reflectors. As you can see, those circular lines, those are reflectors to make it more brighter than it is. With the speaker over here as well, we'll talk about that a bit later. Moving to the front, we have a single VGA camera, as you can see there. And now let's use the lock screen here to get into the camera application to look at the interface. So pretty detailed interface as well. What is it? Oh, yeah, like I said, the software is prototype, so it will crash sometimes. But yeah, there's the interface, pretty detailed interface. You have your bunch of settings here. You can actually close that and bring it up again. We have settings here. Picture resolution 8 megapixel 4:3, 6 megapixel 16:9, video resolution 1080p at 30 fps, volume key function, shutter tone, and all the other stuff. We can switch to video over here, so you can switch to video recording. You have your night scenes and stuff over here, all your scenes. There's no HDR feature, so all the samples that I'll be showing you are without HDR. They're just point and shoot. However, I've done some macros using the macro mode, and I've also for the nighttime video and photography, I've switched to the nighttime setting. Where'd that go? There we go. The twilight setting or the nighttime setting. So I did, no wait, that's not the, where's the, oh, there we go, low light. So I didn't put twilight, I put low light. So scenes was set to low light, AWB was set to auto. AWB is the white balance. So the white balance was auto, the scenes was set to low light, and I did some macro using the macro feature as well over here. So yeah, no HDR feature on this phone. All the photos will be during the day and at night. I'm sorry that some photos are during when it was snowing and some photos are without snow, because I've been trying to get this video out for about a month now and it's not been happening because I was so busy. So the daytime photos might have snow in them and the nighttime photos don't, and we'll go by daytime photos, selfie photos, then video, and then nighttime video, photos, videos, and selfies as well. So now let's roll the photos, starting with the daytime photography. So as you saw with those photos, they're actually quite decent. I mean, the indoor photos aren't great during the day and at night, but they do the trick for a budget phone on the Chinese market. That's what you could have expected in 2012. But anyway, now let's move on to the speaker demo, because this speaker, though it's a single firing mono speaker, it's really loud. It's not even tinny though. It's not tinny, it's not annoying. It's a really good speaker. I'm surprised that this phone has such a good speaker. So let's go to ringtones, because obviously I can't play music. And there's a heap of ringtones. I've seen this Thunderfoot ringtone before. So max volume. We're already at max volume. But yeah, it's a pretty nice speaker. I wish I could play music on it, but I can't because of copyright reasons. But really loud, not very tinny. It's actually a very good speaker for listening to music. It's loud, it's not tinny, and it's very clear as well. So big thumbs up on the speaker there. Now, since I've not taken this thing apart, I cannot confirm exactly what the battery in this thing is or its milliamp hour capacity, but from what I found online, I can say first with some certainty, it's about a 1780 milliamp hour battery. It's definitely a Motorola battery with a serial number like BX80 or BX70 or something like that. When I take this phone apart someday, I'll show you the battery, but for now, I can safely say it's probably a 1780 battery with a standby time of around 150 hours and a talk time of around 5 hours. I'm assuming that's for 3G, and for 2G it's going to be a bit different. It's going to be a bit better. But yeah, pretty decent battery performance if those numbers are true. I cannot confirm because this battery is very weak. It's being 11 years, so this battery is going to be definitely weak. It's not a great benchmark. It kind of shuts the phone off at 20%. So yeah, pretty decent battery performance if those numbers are true, but then again, I cannot confirm if they're true or not. This phone is a prototype and it may as well have a completely different battery from the final model. Who knows? But either way, in terms of extra features, this thing has radio and everything else is just software based. A bunch of bloat apps, I guess. That's what you can call an extra feature. If you can call it an extra feature. There's nothing much. It's just a basic budget Android phone by Motorola in 2012. The only big thing about this thing is, honestly, it's so rare. And this prototype, you'll probably never see one of these ever again. This is the only one on YouTube, and it'll probably be the only one on YouTube as long as I can say. But in terms of everything else, it's just a basic phone. 1 gig of RAM, 4 gigs internal, Android ice cream sandwich, IPS LCD display, maybe a TFT. I don't know. Maybe this may be well as be a TFT, and the final would have probably been an IPS. But I can say with certainty this is a TFT LCD. But the final model could have very well been IPS LCD. But yeah, I guess there's nothing much else I can say about this phone. It's a pretty interesting phone. It's just so rare. It's nice to own one of these things. And if anyone is wondering, am I selling these or any of my phones? The answer is no. My phones, my iPods, nothing of them will ever be for sale. I'm going to keep them on a display case someday. I don't know what I'll do with them, but I'll definitely have them out on display in my house someday. These things will never be for sale. So as usual, like I said, stay tuned for the upcoming prototype videos and check out all the prototype videos in the prototype playlist down below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you honestly did, please leave a like on this video as it helps this video get on YouTube's algorithm. Also hit that subscribe button down below and ring that bell notification button to see more content from me. I'm on Instagram, Discord, and Twitter, and you can follow me on those using the links down in the description below. Thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in my next video.